Okay, everybody, thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody online. I think we have a few people online also joining the meeting. So, welcome at Orange. We are happy to host you folks from the OpenStack San Francisco Bay Area, I think is the actual name, San Francisco Bay Area OpenStack group. You will have a few people from AppFormix and OpenStack doing AppFormix and Mirantis, doing a demo and a presentation of the products a little bit later. I'm just going to go over a quick presentation of Orange because I think a few people might not be familiar with what Orange really does and why we are actually in the Bay Area. So welcome again. Orange is basically a telecommunication company. We are number 6 or 5, I think, in the world currently in that space. We have 244 million people. This is the latest numbers. So we play in the typical telco services. So we have cell phones. That's typically what people know about Orange. But we have fixed lines. We have TV over the internet. We have phone over the internet, and we have core networks all around the world. We have services to the enterprise. The whole thing, it's very similar to what you would see from AT&T in the US, for instance. We are almost everywhere in the world. We are typically in our countries a triple or quadruple player. So basically, you pay one beer from us with all your services included. And just to let you know, in France, the prices are way lower than here, so it's very high competition for us. But we pay the customers, they pay like €30 per month for everything, and that includes broadband that is way above 50 megs per second, and that includes cell phones, that includes TV, that includes everything. So there's still a lot of innovation to do in the US, I would say, on pricing, and that's where we have to compete. So that explains actually why Orange is in the Bay Area, to bring innovation, know how to improve our services, improve our margins, and bring new services to our customers. Related to OpenStack, Orange is actually a player since the beginning in OpenStack. We have a public cloud in France running entirely on OpenStack. It's actually deployed by hand from source. They do everything themselves, and they've been using also OpenContra since the beginning. So they are pretty advanced at that level. It's live. You can check it out if you want. It's typically targeting more the French market. The goal is to actually keep the data in France because of the regulation in Europe. The customers actually prefer to keep the data in Europe. The office here is actually a strategy and innovation center. We do a lot of analysis of what's going on in the market from the technology point of view and from the business point of view. We do partnerships, we do tests. We have a small data center behind this wall where we actually deploy what I call toys, and we have a lot of fun with everything that is actually being built in the Bay Area. We have also a business accelerator for startups that is called Orange Fab. So please go to orangefab.com if you are in need for reaching the enterprise market. This is our niche. We help startups that actually have already a product or a beta version of their product to reach big customers like those folks behind me. They are all partners of the Orange Fab. And they want to hear from the startups to be able to integrate those solutions more quickly than they used to. And we actually do also investments to the startups. We typically invest in Series A companies. Myself here, I'm a cloud architect. I work with a few other folks doing system engineering, IT, on testing different tools that actually run in the data center. We actually test the full stack. We go from the metal, so we actually test different vendors. We design custom hardware with vendors, and we go up to the middleware. Typically, we stop at the application. So I'm usually open to meeting anybody in this room that has anything that I should test that is new, just to understand where the market is going. We do that to be able to have a hands-on experience and have then a good way to talk with you guys that are actually creating all those tools a good way, not just from the PowerPoint point of view. We want to understand really what you're doing because we are using them, using those tools. And we are hiring because I have people leaving soon, so I want to replace those people. And if you know anybody that has all those buzzwords, on their resumes, let me know. We need them very quickly. So thank you. And I think Kamish from Mirantis is going to take over now.
Thank you, Jeremy. So first of all, let's thank Orange for giving us this wonderful facility. Thank you so much, and the opportunity to be here as part of this meetup group. So my name is Kamish Pemaraju. I am a partner guy at Mirantis, which means I work with a lot of different partners, technology alliances, integration with Mirantis OpenStack. How many of you know about Mirantis? Show of hands, about 50%. All right, so quickly about Mirantis, right? We're all about OpenStack. So our only focus is OpenStack and nothing else. Unlike many other companies who do many other things, all we do is OpenStack. So we do a lot of things. We don't have any other products besides OpenStack, and I'll talk about some of the things we do there. And we're also #3 contributor to the OpenStack upstream community, which means we do a lot of projects in the upstream code base. Some of the key projects in OpenStack include things like Fuel, which is our deployment engine, Murano, which is an application catalog within OpenStack. Sahara is a big data project for deploying Hadoop clusters. Rally is a performance and benchmarking tool, etc. So we do a lot of innovation and contribution to the upstream OpenStack community. And the most important thing, we are pure play. We are 100% vendor agnostic, which means we work with different infrastructure vendors, different hardware providers, different applications, which is one of the reasons why the partnership with AppFormix is so important, because they give you insight into what's happening. When you combine a lot of different applications, you combine a lot of different infrastructures and use OpenStack, all of a sudden you have this Switzerland, right? All these different things that are going on, and you need insight into that. So we enable solutions, and I'll talk about this in a second, but there are a lot of different things we do there. Everything from platform as a service to containers to Kubernetes, big data, all of those solutions we support. So this is an example of why and how we lead in OpenStack. You can see here Kilo statistics. Kilo is the most recent OpenStack release from the OpenStack community. We are #3 contributor. And you can see down below all these projects where we contribute. We pretty much contribute across the board. Ceilometer, Cinder, Glance, Heat. Murano is a big project that Mirantis does a lot of work in. We believe at the end of the day, OpenStack is an infrastructure project. It's an infrastructure as a service project. But at the end of the day, it's all about developers and developer productivity. So if all you have is an infrastructure platform and you don't know how to run applications or deploy applications or check their performance or monitor them, it's not very useful. So Murano is a way for many applications to be deployed with a single button click, as a matter of fact. Today, we are able to deploy big data Hadoop clusters, Kubernetes clusters, platform as a service from Pivotal, Cloud Foundry, everything from Murano. It's all available in a single app catalog. So it's a big initiative for us at Mirantis. And of course, all these other projects too. And Fuel is a way for us to deploy OpenStack. If you've been following OpenStack, the biggest pain point still today is how to get OpenStack up and running. It's getting more and more complex, more and more projects being added, more and more dependencies, lots of networking complexity. How do you get it up and running? And that's what Fuel does. And we have put in a lot of effort into Fuel. Today, it's a single-click, wizard-like interface. Click, 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 and you can get the entire OpenStack up and running. So we've done a lot of innovation there. By the way, in Kilo, we were the #1 company that had the most number of bug fixes, 949. So all this is basically to show you that Mirantis is very, very focused on OpenStack. That's all we do. It's all we do as a company. We have 600 plus engineers, a total of about 800 now. We've been growing rapidly over the last year. We're headquartered in Mountain View, for those of you who may not know, but we have offices all over the world. Our key value proposition really is about hardening OpenStack. OpenStack, as you know, is an open source project. It's not a product, it's just a project. It's a bunch of community code bases out there. But how do you consume it? How do you put it in production? How do you scale it? How do you operate it, right? All these questions are questions that enterprises ask. And that's what we do. We harden the OpenStack packages, which means we fix bugs, we test them at scale, we do performance testing, we do benchmark testing, we have deployment. So when you take our product, it actually works out of the box, right, at scale. So that's one of the key value propositions we have. The other thing we do is leadership in the community, the ecosystem. This is what I do at Mirantis. This is my job. My job is to create an ecosystem of partners. So everything from big storage vendors such as EMC, NetApp, or big networking vendors such as Cisco, Juniper, Brocade, all of those infrastructure pieces we work with, right? We test their hardware, we test the drivers, so that when a customer says, I want to use my favorite infrastructure, I'm a Cisco shop, or I'm a Juniper shop, or an EMC shop, we work with them, and OpenStack runs on top of it. So that's a key value proposition. And finally, as I said earlier, it's all about developers. Infrastructure as a service is great, but it's commodity. At the end of the day, it's about enabling developers to develop at web scale, applications at web scale. And that's what we do with all of these, driving the app roadmap, as we call it, right? And everything is in there, big data, Kubernetes, etc. So this is what I mean by maximizing the productivity across the board, right? So at the bottom, we have compute, storage, and network, and we have all these infrastructure drivers, and this is how we make the job of a IT ops person easy. So they have a way they can use their favorite infrastructure. They know it works out of the box. They know it's certified. So that works. Now at the developer level, now developers are very choosy. And if you've been in this world for 10 years or more, and what 10 years? I've been in the industry for a long time. And there's all these religious battles about, I want to use C++, I want to use Java or Python, or I want my favorite stack. That's how developers are. So we allow the developers to use their favorite tools, right? With a single click of a button, you get your entire stack, a LAMP stack up and running, an Apache server up and running, your favorite database up and running, all that, and different application spaces, big data, database as a service, containers, platform as a service, your favorite CMP, cloud management tool. All of these can be deployed and made available to a developer in the app catalog. So, and in the middle is Mirantis OpenStack. That's our platform. And that's how we enable both the IT operators as well as the developers. Now, this is what I was saying earlier. When you have this type of a system, it's very complex. What's going on in your system? Can I see it? What's the performance of my apps? How am I using my infrastructure? This is where somebody like AppFormix would be extremely useful, because otherwise you're dealing with a lot of complexity. Although we're trying to simplify a lot of it, but in production and operation at scale, you start to need tools. And this is where I think AppFormix is a great way. So I quickly want to talk about our latest web scale distribution, which was just released in December. It's based on Juno, but basically it consists of the base OpenStack packages, Compute, Cinder, Neutron, Keystone. All of these are tested at scale. We do a lot of performance testing. These are hardened packages that we provide support for. You can call us, a single 1-800 number, call Mirantis. If there's a problem, we'll fix it for you. That's the core value prop for Mirantis. And then you have all these certified infrastructure drivers. You have your favorite hardware. You want to use EMC, Dell, Cisco, Juniper, whatever it is. We have certified drivers for that. And then you have the OpenStack APIs, which are all open APIs that your developers can consume. No difference there. It's whatever you get from the OpenStack community, you get that from us. There's no change there. And then you have the applications. You have a whole slew of applications that your developers can consume, whether it is containers, whether it's Kubernetes, Docker, CoreOS. We're just working with CoreOS. We have a big partnership with Google. So we're working a lot on that. And Murano is a vehicle to get it out there. And then, of course, it's all about the developer. So that's the end target audience for us, to enable them to make sure they're very productive and they're able to develop these great applications that we can all consume. But how do you put all this into operations? It's not easy at scale to do all of this stuff. So that's where Fuel comes in. Fuel is our deployment tool. You can deploy and operate, and you can do all these other things that you need. OpenStack itself is not a cloud. It's just a platform. If you want load balancing, you want firewalls, you want all kinds of other things that you need in a data center, you need to be able to deploy, integrate, and operate, right? And that's, again, a big complex task. And this is where Fuel comes in. And Fuel allows you to deploy these things at scale. And we have something called a Fuel plugin. It's an architecture, it's a plugin architecture. So if you have your favorite hardware and you want to deploy it automatically with OpenStack, you can do that because Fuel enables you to do that. So at the end of the day, as I said, reliable because it's hardened, it's HA, best-in-class infrastructure, whatever you use in your data center. Ease of operation because we have the Fuel installer, which makes it all easy, deployable automatically. And at the end of the day, it's developer productivity. So these are the things we focus on as a company. And then, like I said earlier, customers consume OpenStack in different ways. CloudWatt, for example, is a very advanced customer, right? They do it themselves. Well, you can do it yourself. We are very active in the OpenStack community. We fix bugs, upstream releases. We have engineering and integration required if customers want us to do that. And there's a lot of community support. We have hundreds of engineers, on various chat rooms and stuff that can help you with your questions and in the OpenStack community. Now, some customers don't want to go all the way and be a DIY. They want the distribution. They want support. They want to have a single line to call us. So that's where the enterprise grade distribution comes in. That's what we sell. That's our product. Enterprise grade, easy to install with Fuel. It's supported by Mirantis. It's enterprise support. We have several support options. Now, and there's the last one, which we just announced at the Vancouver Summit. In fact, it just came out a couple of weeks ago, is what we call the unlocked appliance. So this is all the way turnkey, out of the box. You basically order a box and everything's in it. It's already installed with OpenStack. Everything is certified and supported, and you just plug it in and it's ready to go. That's our unlocked appliance. We just announced it. We don't sell appliances ourselves. We're not a hardware company, but we use third-party channel partners such as Redapp, who is our first channel partner for this. So you can go buy this today from Redapp. It's based on Dell and Juniper, and it also has Mirantis OpenStack already built into it. So great way, different ways of consuming OpenStack. We work with all of those. We help you with all of those. So if you have any of those things, let us know. This is the complete solution from Mirantis. So we have the 6.1 distribution that I just talked about. And we are also very well known for services. We probably have, I can claim this, the largest number of OpenStack experts under one roof. And so that's our professional services team. We have over 150 production deployments with very large enterprise customers as well as large telcos. And they use our distribution, they use our support. And then also we have a very strong training group. A lot of people have gone through Mirantis training. Over 5,000 people have been trained and certified. And we have a certification exam. They can go through that, 70 locations around the world, both on-site as well as virtual, so you can get that. And by the way, that training is completely pure OpenStack. It's nothing to do with Mirantis products. So if you just want to learn OpenStack, you can learn it from us. We are also introducing some of the things we're doing, like Fuel, etc., like how our product works, but it's been 90% of it is just pure OpenStack. So that's another thing. And appliances is something we just announced. So this is everything that we do. We're excited to work with AppFormix. We see a lot of great value that they're bringing to the table. Because as I said, our model is Switzerland, right? We work with everybody. But then when you work with everybody, you have a very difficult situation where you don't know what's happening in your system. And that's where AppFormix really comes in. So I do want to have a little plug. We have what is called OpenStack Silicon Valley. We're actually running it. It's in the Computer Science Museum in Mountain View, right? In Mountain View, this is our second one. The first one was a total sellout. It's sort of like a Silicon Valley event. Think of the OpenStack Summit that we have every 6 months. This is like a mini event just for the Silicon Valley area. So we had record turnout last year, about 600 people. So we're doing it again. This time it's all about containers. Containers meets OpenStack. So there are lots of tickets available. Please feel free to go OpenStack Silicon Valley and register for it, and we look forward to seeing you there. If you have any questions, let us know. This is some of the things we're working on. I already mentioned flexible infrastructure, resiliency. It's all about enterprise production deployments. That's really our focus. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand it over back to AppFormix. We'll take questions towards the end. All right? Okay, thank you.
Hey folks, I'm Sumit. I'm the founder at AppFormix. Kamesh, thank you. Thank you, Jeremy. So what our mission at AppFormix is to enable you to build a better cloud. And what we mean by a better cloud is a cloud that's easier for you to manage, easier for you to operate, and is more reliable, is more efficient. As Kamesh was saying, Mirantis does a pretty awesome job of getting these clouds up and running. What AppFormix focuses on is monitoring how these clouds are running, how is your cloud running, doing real-time analytics to figure out what's working, what's not working, and in doing that, improving the reliability of your cloud. So the three main things that we deliver for you. The first one is we bring you infrastructure transparency at scale. No matter how small or large your infrastructure is, we give you complete visibility of all the applications that are running on your cloud infrastructure. Right? All cloud infrastructures tend to be multi-tenant. We can in real time inform you how your different tenants and their applications are consuming your cloud infrastructure. The second big challenge in cloud environments is that they all share. Many times applications compete with each other for resources. We can identify resource bottlenecks as and when new applications spin up, as they scale up, as they scale down. We can identify where they're constrained for resources and help you fix them in real time. And the third goal that we have at AppFormix is essentially to enable this world of cloud native applications hosted within your enterprise, where they can use APIs to better understand how the infrastructure is performing to better build the applications. So the way we do this is through a software solution, what we call is a real-time software solution that enables you to monitor your infrastructure, monitor how the different workloads are consuming the resources on the infrastructure. We also do all of the analysis in real time and tell you what's really going on, what's constrained, what's not constrained, what's healthy, what's at risk. And in doing that, we enable you to optimize how you're consuming your infrastructure, how the different applications consume the infrastructure. We can monitor all of the system resources. We consume all the metrics that are available in the system. We enable a whole bunch of new metrics as well. We allow you to set policies that guarantee performance to the different applications that are running on your infrastructure. And all of this can be consumed using APIs. We are an API first company. And of course, we have a very cool user experience as well. So the way all of this works is you install agents on your host. The installation process is completely automated. And if you're using OpenStack, we can automatically discover your entire OpenStack environment. The installation process from that point on is completely automated. The key thing here is that the agent installs on the host. We do not touch the virtual machines or the containers. And by just installing on the host, we can give you the complete breakdown of how all the virtual machines, the containers, or the applications running within those VMs or containers are consuming the resource. On top of this, we of course have a central management system. The management system can run within your enterprise, or we can run it in the cloud for you. So this is just a quick overview of our dashboard. It's what I call it is describe it as a real-time user experience. We can monitor all of the resource consumption by the different hosts, virtual machines in real time. The data and the analytics are streamed directly from the host all the way to the dashboard. There's no database in the path here. There's no choke point really. And while we are generating all of these metrics, we're also doing all of the analysis, running several streaming algorithms to determine what is working and what's not working. If some host is unhealthy, we tell you right up front. You can of course get the breakdown of how the different virtual machines or containers are consuming the resources on the host. And it's a very fluid user experience. You can zoom in, zoom out, You get all of the historical data as well. So it's just this real-time user experience. Now, all of this information is also available through APIs. And then from a particular host, you can also jump into any single instance and see what the resource consumption in the instance looks like. So now what's unique about AppFormix is that when we are doing a monitoring at the host level, we can also break down what the IO footprint of every single service is. Even though the service is running within a virtual machine, we can tell you what the IO footprint of each virtual machine looks like. So each service looks like. So for example, here we have 3 different services running in this VM. We can tell you exactly what the resource consumption of each service is. And beyond just looking at basic metrics like what's the CPU and memory, we dive further into the application and we can tell you what's the latency of the application, how quickly is it responding to the requests, how many requests is it responding to. And every single metric that's visible in our system, you can also use these metrics to generate rules and get alarms in real time, which can be fed into your applications for your applications to scale better along with the infrastructure. So in terms of application, and as I was saying, we dive further very deep into the entire stack, and we can tell you very precisely what the latency of the application is, how quickly is it responding, what's the number of outstanding requests, how quickly is it responding, and things like that. So the product has 2 main components. The first one is insight and the second one is control. Insight is all about informing you how your infrastructure is operating and analyzing all of the key metrics to determine what's healthy and what's unhealthy. It also enables you to plan your infrastructure in a better way. What we've found in many situations is that after several years of use of OpenStack, many environments tend to have virtual machines that have just been spun up and are not consumed. So we can very quickly identify, situations where resources are being wasted. We can also identify situations where you could consolidate or where you need to devote more resources to. And then there is the control capability, where in real time you can specify how many resources a service should get, and we can dynamically change, the resource consumption of the service. So now it's time for the demo.
Hi, my name's Travis Newhouse, and I'm going to go into a little more depth here, showing you guys a demonstration of what AppFormix can do. Let me give you some context. So today we're going to demonstrate AppFormix running on top of Mirantis Express. So Mirantis Express is a public OpenStack cloud that you can purchase nodes on, and you have your own private cluster running that's supported by Mirantis. And they have a component called the Fuel Master. So when you sign up, you use the Fuel Master to deploy different OpenStack clusters. You can purchase a number of nodes. Maybe you want to purchase 10 nodes. You can assign maybe 3 nodes to one OpenStack cloud. You can create a different OpenStack environment with 7 of the other nodes. They can have different configurations, different uses maybe for your clients or your customers. And it follows the same OpenStack platform as standard OpenStack. So there's a controller node running all the OpenStack services. Then you have the hosts where the VMs are going to be executing. So then how does AppFormix fit into this architecture? What we have is a series of kind of control modules that we run on that we use to manage the hosts. So on each host, there's an agent, and that agent's going to be collecting data about the virtual machines and the resources on that host. The AppFormix controller is kind of the central piece that pushes configuration down to the hosts. It gets that information from an OpenStack adapter. That's basically listening to events inside OpenStack. It's using REST-based APIs to program the AppFormix controller. All of our APIs are REST-based and public so that you can use our software in a very automated fashion. Then the host agents, when they have data to generate, they are pushing it up onto a message bus. And again, that message bus publishes data in using REST and JSON. Anything can listen to it. We have our own dashboard to provide a user experience in real time. We have an analytics engine that's doing real-time analysis of the data that all the different performance metrics that you would like to monitor, network, CPU, including application level metrics like application response time, round trip time in the network, the number of requests, and we can then generate higher level signals that you can react to tune and optimize your data center. So instead of just getting the raw data, which is one option, our analytics engine in real time can kind of process the data and give you higher level signals like that you want to know, and it's fully programmable, and we're going to demonstrate that later on. And then so fitting into like a Mirantis OpenStack cloud, you have a lot of the control pieces for AppFormix running alongside Nova, Neutron, Keystone on the controller node, and then we have a piece that's running on the host. We deploy all of this from the Fuel Master, just like Mirantis does with all the OpenStack services. In fact, we'll be releasing a Fuel plugin in the near future. We currently, and I'm going to demonstrate today how we can do it with Ansible. So if that's a different environment that you're running in, you could also use Ansible, even if you're not using Fuel. So what I want to demonstrate for you today, I'm going to kind of go over five things. First is that the simplicity which we can install using Ansible. We can automate the installation into your Mirantis OpenStack cluster. Show how we integrate with OpenStack. So our software discovers all of the resources in your cloud, the hosts that you have, the virtual machines that you have. Anything you can see in Horizon is presented inside the AppFormix user interface. We also integrate with Keystone so that you have access control based on the same users that use your cloud. So if I'm a tenant and I have 5 VMs, when I look at the AppFormix page, I see those same 5 VMs. If I'm an administrator in the OpenStack cloud, I can see everything that's going on inside the cluster. So that's useful for the infrastructure operators who want to kind of see what's going on with their hardware, and it's useful for the tenants because they want to see what's going on with their applications. And then we'll show you how we visualize resource utilization in real time. Then I'm going to provide one aspect of how we do analysis to do health. We give a health score to your instances and your hosts to kind of give you an indication of whether things are looking good or looking bad, and we have some predefined configuration parameters that we use, and it's also tunable to tailor to your environment. And finally, I'll talk about what we call EventStream, which is this real-time event generation that's one level up from just the raw performance data. Before I go there, so let's go first to okay, so first we're going to install. So right now we're doing it in 2 phases. I'm first going to install the AppFormix agent on all the compute nodes inside my inventory. Right now I'm just using one for simplicity and to keep us on time here. Basically, Ansible is going out, putting out the software, starting it up. Once it's done, I'm going to also install all the controller software. This is going to include the AppFormix controller, the analytics engine, the dashboard, and the OpenStack adapter. So, and once the OpenStack adapter has been installed and all these packages are up and running, we're going to contact Keystone, contact Nova, Neutron, and go discover all the resources inside your OpenStack cluster and populate them into our controller So the OpenStack adapter is going to basically be asking Keystone and Horizon what's out there, or not Horizon, but Nova, Neutron. Then it's going to use REST calls to push that data into the controller. And each of these services that we run, the way we package them is actually as a Docker container. So Kamesh was talking about containers, and definitely there's a space to play containers and OpenStack together, and we're actually using it to deploy our software so that each is running in its own container. It's very easy for us to not only deploy it, but to connect them together. So should be done in just a moment here. The OpenStack adapter's running now. Now it's going out and doing the discovery. Okay, so while that's there, this is Horizon, just to give you a sense of what this cluster looks like. There's two different projects. There is, like I said, there's a couple compute nodes, and now I'll bring it over to the AppFormix page. Just going to refresh, make sure it's got everything. Okay, let me just log out. I think it timed out. There we go. So this is our top level dashboard. What we're showing right now is a project-oriented view of the cluster from an administrator's perspective. So you can see there are 4 projects right now. 2 of the projects have 3 instances. 2 of the projects have no instances right now. As we expand, we can see what's going on. These are the 3 instances in the Celio project. These are the 3 instances in the AppFormix project. And again, this mirrors what we saw in Horizon. So if you look at one of these Mongo 4s here, and we see something called Mongo here. Did I go to the wrong one? Yeah. Oh, that's why. I was even confusing myself, so I apologize. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thanks. I have my support team over there on the side. Help me out. So this one mirrors this Horizon. I'm sorry. We're running, like I mentioned in Fuel, you can run more than 1 cluster. And so we were actually running 2, one where I could do a live install and one where we already have some workloads running. So this one's actually a little more interesting because there's actually workloads going on. And like if I was going to show you Mongo 4 in the AppFormix test project, if I scroll down to the AppFormix test project, expand here, and you'll see there's Mongo 4. So all of the data that you're seeing here is being pushed directly to the user interface. That's a key aspect of our architecture, is that we're not polling. We're not going down to the nodes and asking for information all the time. We're not storing the information in a database, later going and getting a query out. This is real-time streaming. So when the agent has data, it pushes it out to a message bus. From that message bus, the user interface here is a listener, and it's getting that data that it wants to see. You can, if you want historical data, and we provide this, connect a database on that message bus. That database is listening and storing the data, and then you can later retrieve it out and display it. And as I mentioned, this is a project-oriented view. We also have a host-oriented view, which can be useful for infrastructure operators who kind of want to know what's going on with their infrastructure. So now what we see is a grouping by host. So node 22, node 24 have a different number of instances running on them. At the top level, you can see what is the CPU and network being used by the host in aggregate. Like the entire host, all the instances on that host are using up this percentage of the resources. So this is good for planning, right? People want to know what's going on. Do I need to buy more hardware? Do I need to migrate virtual machines? These kinds of things are very important if you want to optimize the return on your investment in hardware. We can drill down to a particular instance. Maybe we want to look at this see, demo Mongo 16. We can go ahead and navigate down to an instance. We can actually look at what's going on for a particular instance. And so on this virtual machine, you can see it's sending more data, lots of data coming into Mongo, storing data into the database. On the left, you see different applications that are running, web, Mongo. Right now, Mongo is the most active application. You can see that it's what's using up most of the network. And if we want to take a look at like an application level metric, we can look at response time locally. So this is how long it took from the time a packet arrived at the physical host, the compute node, and for Mongo to respond, right? So it's very useful to know if Mongo is being scheduled with a good response time. You want to know, is Mongo getting enough CPU to provide the experience that you need for performance inside your data center? And that's just on the hop from the edge of the physical network or the physical interface of the host to the software, right? Through the hypervisor and through the operating system stack inside the guest. Conversely, we do provide the remote response time. In this case, we're not getting, Mongo's not making requests out, so we don't have that to display. But if you had like a client application, you'd want to know maybe what's its response time going across the network. And you could then compare that with the response time maybe at the server that it's talking to and kind of start to understand what's going on. Is the network maybe slow, or is the service itself not responding well? So another aspect that we have on the dashboard is what we call the health index. This little green circle here kind of can tell you whether or not a host or an instance is doing well, or if it needs attention. Maybe there's a bottleneck. And like I said, we have different criteria that we have by default to determine what we think is unhealthy and what's healthy, and that can be tailored to your environment or to your applications. I think we're going to trigger some traffic or some load that will turn one of these to kind of bad health. I forget which one you're going to set up. So here you see that node 24 suddenly had a spike in CPU. It's crossing a threshold that is unhealthy. It's gone to red, so you can quickly identify that this is maybe a machine that you need to take a look at it. You might want to find out like what instance maybe is causing that. Maybe talk to that, find out why that tenant is suddenly using a large share. In this case, you don't see any instances going red, or you don't see any instances using a lot of CPU. What that can indicate is that the host itself, there's some software running on the host that's using up its resources. Maybe you need to go and check out. Maybe, who knows? Maybe an OpenStack service itself is misbehaving or eating up a lot of resources, and you want to kind of take care of that problem. And so you can give that amount of CPU back to your instances for the workloads that matter to you. And we can also provide that health index on an instance level as well. And all these metrics, all this analysis, we're not actually modifying any of the guests, right? So the virtual machines that are running here can be Windows, they can be Ubuntu, Red Hat, it can be whatever you want to run inside your guest. We don't require any software inside the virtual machine itself. We just put our agent on the compute node, on the host, alongside KVM and the like Nova compute. Okay, so
quick question.
Yeah.
Does your software give an alarm that maybe something is out of whack to the, or do I have to keep looking at the screen to figure out if something is wrong? And if it gives an alarm, does it give the analysis as to what could potentially have gone wrong? Whether it's a particular application, the host itself is going out of the software running on the host is going to be on the same point.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Right. So that's perfect. You're leading right into what I was going to talk about next, which is that, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, but under the hood, all of this is API driven, right? And so our dashboard is one consumer of this data that we're publishing. You can write your own listeners to react in real time by consuming that data if you want to say, identify, a high CPU load, and I want to migrate. I want to migrate off that machine, or just want to, page my operator to let him know what's going on, if you can't take care of it in an automated way. So what I'll show you is sort of under the hood here. Let me see which one was. Can we put one other into the health mode again, like the host node 24? What I'll show you is quickly, I'll just show you what I have. I just have it in a script, so I'll remember what it is. But there's a curl command here, right? It's going out to check on the status of health for all hosts. Okay, and so if I run this, then what we'll see is we get back structured JSON that kind of gives us an idea of what's going on in every single host. So node 22, health is good. Node 24, it looks like health is bad. And that was the same node we saw earlier when we ran this trigger. And then inside of node 24, each instance, what's happening, is it good or bad? And this is, and it has a timestamp, so you can kind of know when this happened, because these events just will keep coming out. This was an example where I pulled the data when I wanted to find it out. We have also a subscription message bus, as I mentioned before, where you would be pushed this data, right? You would be pushed the state changes of when something goes between good and bad. I didn't want to have a listener on there and flooding the screen with data. But similarly, we can do it for get all the instances. And it looks very similar. It's just that we're not breaking down by the host in this case. We can do it, slice it by project, and we can slice it by host aggregate, which is a concept that OpenStack provides if you want to group hosts into for management purposes or for availability zones. And you kind of asked also, well, can I know why, right? Can I know why it's going on? I'm just going to show you quickly a sample of what some of the data looks like coming out of the metrics. So you can take this and then correlate what's going on. But this is kind of what's being fed on our message bus. For a particular instance, we have lots of metrics basically at the system level. So we have memory percent, how much memory is being used, disk, CPU, and we provide both perspective of CPU from the VM itself, like what does the VM think its load is, like if you were to run top inside the VM. We also provide the CPU percent from the host's perspective, so you can understand this particular virtual machine is using 20% of the total physical CPU available on that host. Tells you how many vCPUs it has, the amount of swap memory that is being used. On the host, this is the host level metric, swap memory, as well as total memory usage, total disk usage. We provide at the host level I/O wait time, so you can understand if you're having slow access to your block device. Or sorry, not I/O wait time, but I/O wait percentage of time spent waiting on the disk. And then all the CPU load for each physical CPU on the host is presented. And this is for a host, right? So if you want to know the application, then that's a separate piece of JSON that's coming out for the application with some of those metrics I showed you, like application response time, application request rate, response rate. Come back over here. And so just we publish documentation here for all of our APIs that you can basically look at what you want to do. So I'm trying to think of the best one I can show right now. But these are the APIs that, for instance, the OpenStack adapter, when it adds a server. If we do support other platforms, our focus is on OpenStack today, but if you wanted to integrate into a different kind of cloud platform and you need to say there's a new compute node inside the system, I'm letting AppFormix controller know. This is documentation that shows what fields you need to provide to define that server. And there's samples over here for the schema. You can, from this tool even, you can actually test out the API if you want right here. It's a tool called Swagger that we use to document this and make it easy to test things out. You can also get information, so you can get a list of, like I could get a list of all the servers. It's probably, but I need an authentication token, and I'm not going to go pull that up right now. Sorry. So the next thing I want to just talk about and show you is what we call EventStream. And EventStream is part of our analytics engine to kind of give you a higher order level of information. I showed you a lot of the raw metrics, but in addition to the health score, you can, this is another way that you can customize what you want to know about. Like if you are concerned about maybe over CPU, CPU load over a certain threshold, or maybe CPU load under a certain threshold because you want to power off a machine, and maybe you want to react to that event in real time and automatically power down machines, take them out of your cluster. That's something you can use. That's what this event stream is for. So it's a real-time big data platform that's doing all the analysis using streaming algorithms in real time at each compute node. So it's distributed. And as that data is collected, it's put through these the streaming algorithm to process the metrics and then generate signals about the health and performance of your infrastructure. An example that I'm going to describe right here is you could generate an alert for CPU percentage if the average over a 5-second duration is greater than 50% in 2 out of the last 3 intervals. Okay, so it's a mouthful. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's a plot of CPU usage. I've overlaid over it some boxes to kind of represent a 5-second interval. And what would happen is, the first 5-second interval, the CPU is not above 50% on average. Second one clearly is. The third one is. And so the event would fire here after the 2 out of 3 intervals. I think I might have slightly misaligned these arrows. The alert would become active until the time at which 2 out of 3 were not above 50%. So here you see 1, 2, 3. On this this event, the alert would become inactive, right? So we have 2 modes that you can configure. An alert is what I described, where it has state that the condition is active and the condition becomes inactive. The notification that we send out is on state change, so that it's not sending so much data that you can say, okay, send an event when it becomes active, send an event when it becomes inactive. If you want to have the raw, a little more raw data, you can configure the mode that's called an event mode, in which case every time the criteria would have matched, in which it would stay in the active state, you will get the event on every single interval. Right? So it's a little more data, but sometimes, depending on the use case, that can be useful. So now I'm just going to show you that looks like here. Okay, so we have a very similar rule here. On the 2-second interval. So we're generating an alert for CPU usage if the average over a 2-second interval is above 50% in 2 out of the last 3 intervals. And you can assign the severity of how important it is when this event fires. And this is showing a log of what's happening, right? So, and it's going to be updating in real time. We look at the CPU, the instance CPU alert. So here, and we can see that it's inactive. That means right now it's not, it hasn't crossed the threshold. It's not firing. If it were to become active, then we would see the state change, and you can see, know what host it's happening on, whose project it belongs to, as well as the severity of the event. None when it's inactive. And I'll just show you how you actually apply one of these. So we can do a host CPU. So if you specify a project, then this rule will be configured for all instances inside that project. So any instance that's running in that project will be monitored to see if it meets the criteria for the event rule. If you don't specify a project, then what it means is it's an infrastructure level rule. It's going to be applied across the physical host. So the data that's being analyzed is the data coming out from the physical host itself. So this is useful to monitor your infrastructure. So if we want to do an alert for CPU percentage, we can say when the average over 5 seconds, let's say it's above 30%, and we want 2 out of 3. Save that. So now we have host CPU here, the one I created. If we were to look and fire kind of a workload that generates that, I think what we'll see, oops, sorry, to expand. So CPU has gone above 50%. Take a look at our EventStream. See that the host CPU has become active at this time. It started out inactive after we first configured it, or sorry, when we first configured it here, it was in learning state until it's seen enough intervals. Became inactive. Once the CPU went high, then it became into the active state. We go watch, that CPU comes down. So now CPU is dropping, should be below our 30% threshold. We should see CPU alert. Our host CPU is inactive. Probably will jump to inactive here. Now it's inactive. And this data is also pushed onto the message bus. Each of these events, again, the dashboard here is just getting that stream to it because it's a subscriber on the message bus. So that concludes what I wanted to demonstrate today. Basically, AppFormix provides real-time visualization of resource utilization so that you can monitor your infrastructure utilization. We help you analyze the health of your infrastructure so that you can also plan your infrastructure and make informed decisions and get a high ROI on your investment in hardware. We also provide real-time control. That'll be for the next meetup. So, are there any questions?
Do you plan to integrate with Horizon at some point?
That's a really good question. At the moment, we are able to move faster with our product development cycle by not integrating with Horizon. As we mature, I think we will definitely explore that possibility. But we do have the Keystone integration. I actually didn't demonstrate that today, but you can log in as a different user and you can just see only the resources that you're entitled to see. And so, although it's not fully integrated with Horizon, our OpenStack integration is trying to be fairly complete. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.